Hello, this video provides you with an overview of how character conversion can be performed during a XCOM transfer. When transferring a file between two operating systems, where one uses ASCII, the other EBCDIC, a character translation can be done together with the transfer. This character translation is done on the ASCII side of the transfer, regardless of which side is sender or receiver of the file. We will first look at a transfer from Windows to ZOS. To get the characters translated, we code flag equals EBCDIC in the configuration file for the transfer. This translation is done using internal hard-coded conversion tables when the parameter internal conversion tables in the XCOM global file is set to yes. This table is hard-coded and converts all lower and uppercase characters, the numbers and special characters as the $sign, the hash sign and the ampersand. When you do not want to use the internal translation table, then you need to change the value of parameter internal conversion tables to no in the XCOM global file. With this done, XCOM is using the translation tables specified in the parameters A2E underscore filename and E2A underscore filename. Both are specified in the XCOM global too. Remember that any change in the XCOM global file requires a stop and restart of the XCOM server to take effect. These two tables are provided by XCOM in the subfolder conf tab. With these files you gain flexibility in translating, as these files can be changed. But first we need to understand how these files are working. So let's look at how these translation tables are constructed. They contain 256 lines each, and in every line a hexadecimal value is listed. At a first glance, this looks strange, but there is a system behind these tables. The table contains 256 lines. Here you see the ASCII to EBCDIC table A2E.tab. In the first line, we enter the EBCDIC value for the ASCII hexadecimal 00. In the second line, we enter the EBCDIC value for the ASCII hexadecimal 01. This process is continued until the table is full. The last line contains the EBCDIC representation of the ASCII hexadecimal FF. This concept is explained using some examples in just a moment. But before, look at the line numbers and the hexadecimal values. When you compute the decimal values of the hexadecimal values and compare them with the line numbers, there is a slight difference. The line numbers start with 1, but the hexadecimal values start with 0. So in order to get to the correct line to enter the EBCDIC value, you need to add 1 to the decimal representation of the ASCII value. You will see this in the following examples. So here is the first example. We want to transfer the lowercase character a from ASCII to EBCDIC. In ASCII, the lowercase a is represented by the hexadecimal value 61, while in EBCDIC the representation is 81. The decimal value of hexadecimal 61 is 97. As explained before, we need to add 1 and therefore have to look into line number 98 of the A2E tab file. Into this line we enter the EBCDIC representation of lowercase a, which is hexadecimal 81. Following this concept, we fill all 256 lines of the translation table with the 256 values of ASCII. The capital A is represented by ASCII value hexadecimal 41. So this leads us to line 66, in which we enter the ASCII value of the capital A, the hexadecimal value C1. If you would enter C2 instead, every capital A would be translated into a capital B on the ASCII side. So take care if you are going to change anything in these tables. The same for numbers. The number 1 is represented by ASCII value hexadecimal 31. This is 49 in decimal value. So we fill the ASCII value for the 1, which is F1, into line 50. The last example deals with special characters, here the $sign. Its ASCII representation of hexadecimal 24 added by 1 brings us to line 37 of the table. Here we enter hexadecimal 5b, the representation of the $sign in ASCII. This way the complete translation table is filled. The other translation table XCOM delivers is the E2A tab. This table contains the information for XCOM on Windows or Unix if ASCII characters are to be received and converted to ASCII code. The concept is identical to the other translation table, but now we look for the ASCII representation of a character, compute the decimal number, and enter the ASCII code into that line. Here you see the part of the E2A tab where the numbers are translated. The ASCII values for the numbers are hexa F0 to F9. After adding 1, this leads us to lines 241 to 250 of the table, where we enter the ASCII values hexadecimal 30 to hexadecimal 39 for the numbers. As already said, both tables are provided in subfolder conf tab. When used unchanged, they transfer characters from ASCII to ASCII and vice versa, like the internal translation tables do. With these two tables you have the ability to influence the translation. You can, for example, convert all unprintable ASCII characters into an ASCII blank, which is hexadecimal 40. Or you can convert all characters to uppercase. We are not restricted to only one conversion table. Parameter code table allows to specify a translation table specific to a transfer. In this example, we code table equals ESP, which let XCOM use the translation tables ESP A2E tab and ESP E2A tab for that given transfer. If these tables do not exist in the conf tab subfolder, your transfer fails with message XCOM N0456E cannot open ASCII ASCII translation file. Now let's look at the other side. We transfer a file from ZOS to Windows. In the DD card sysin01 of the transfer job, we need to code flag equals ASCII to get the file converted into ASCII code. This looks strange, but we need to view from the ASCII side regardless from where the file is sent. If we do not specify any code table prefix, XCOM uses the internal conversion table on the ASCII side of the transfer when internal conversion tables equals yes is coded. When internal conversion table equals no is coded, E2A tab or A2E tab are used. If we specify a code table using parameter code table equals followed by a 3-character prefix, Then XCOM on the ASCII side of a transfer uses the translation table with this prefix. In this example it's POR E2A tab. If this table does not exist, your transfer job fails with condition code 16 and error message XCOM N0456E cannot open EBCDIC ASCII translation file. This concludes the video on translation tables in XCOM. Thank you for your attention.